Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. For today's video, I am going to talk about how the Kundalini is a destructive force. So growing up, we all create these images of ourselves through our thoughts and through our psychological constructs. Maybe we identify as a kid, maybe we identify as whatever, being a good or bad student, a good athlete, a bad athlete, or we're the straight A student, the teacher's pet, or we're the rebel and the troublemaker, the class comedian. So it starts at a young age. We start taking on these identities. And these identities are foisted on us when we're young from the outside. Other people tell us what we are, like, you're just a troublemaker, or you're such a good student, or it can be good and bad. This isn't saying it's wrong or anything. You're really gifted to you're no good and will amount to nothing. This can happen on the full spectrum. So it starts as a kid and it continues into adulthood. And we start feeling our identities as whatever your profession is. Maybe it's like I'm a teacher, or I'm a police officer, or I'm an author, or whatever it is for you. And that can really become a big identity for a lot of us. I know for a long time, my identity was like, I'm a great salesperson, and we can channel our whole personality through that identity. Or it could be even like, maybe parenting is the biggest thing for you. So like, I'm a mom or I'm a dad, that's your identity, And this can go positive and negative too. It can be, I'm just a failure. So this is like society has labeled me as someone who is irredeemable. Or I'm a hero and I'm so talented at what I do and I'm very gifted. And the point is, we cultivate an identity of who we are. Like for my own self, like when I was in my 20s, my name was Matt. That was given to me. I was a salesperson. And I was really into poker and gambling, and I was really intellectual, and I loved reading. So I would have labeled myself, and others would have labeled me as an intellectual and a gifted salesperson, we'll say. Well, we use these identities to function in society. We use these identities to feel safe, to feel like we belong. Because without an identity, who would we be? If I wasn't this person, well then who am I, right? And this is what the Kundalini will obliterate. It will obliterate the sense of self that you derive from your psychological construct. Basically, the sense of self you derive from your conditioning and from your thoughts and from the labels you gave yourself and the labels that others projected onto you from early childhood all the way through adulthood. This is the real destruction phase of a Kundalini awakening, is realizing like, holy shit, I'm not any of those things. And this can be fucking terrifying, because then you're left in this strange, empty abyss of, well, who am I really? If I'm not a salesperson, if I'm not the intellect, if I'm not, whatever, a parent, if I'm not the amazing writer, author, lawyer, if I'm not all those things that I believe myself to be, well then, what now? And this can cause so much terror to come up inside, and I know it did for me. And this is something that we may have to sit with for a long time to really process and to really integrate, that I am not my identities that society and myself, like that society has given me and that I have given me to function in this society. Rather, I am not the mind and I am not this body, and I am not a bundle of thoughts and emotions. That's not who I truly am. And it's really startling, because for so long we thought we were our psychological drama. All these identities, they're really just a psychological drama going on in your head. And when you look at it for what it is, you realize that none of it's even real. Like that it's just all kind of a facade, and it's all an illusion for your ego survival and feelings of safety and security. And when that's just blown apart and you see through the illusion of all these, the characterological lie. I forget the psychologist I was reading a long time ago, before my Kundalini awakening. He talked about it, how the man takes on a characterological lie to get through in society, and how an awakening is the destruction of that characterological lie, and then a return to society with an awareness of the illusion or the characterological lie. And when we have an awareness of the illusion of identities and labels, then our movement in the world can be much more authentic, free, liberated, passionate, open, fun, less serious, more playful, all these beautiful things. So that through the destruction comes so many treasures and so much more of an appreciation and an awareness of what reality really is, and how it is just, if you want to, like Nikola Tesla says, if you want to know the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And thought constructs are just simply collective illusions and delusions about what reality really is. So when these are taken from you, and these are not bad things, I'm not saying that's bad, they serve their purpose, right? They help us evolve. They helped us evolve out of, from an animal to a human. It's a different set of consciousness. But the Kundalini will come in and is asking you to evolve a step further. It's asking you to evolve beyond your identifications with thought. It's asking you to evolve beyond the labels of who you think you are. And this is such a terrifying time, because the ego is going to resist this like bloody hell. The ego is not going to want to let go of the identifications that makes it feel safe. And this is where the repurposing of the ego happens. Instead of the ego serving the labels, the identifications that come from society, and all the conditioning, and all like the generational lineage that comes through, instead of the ego being a servant for that, the ego undergoes a transformation where it's now a servant for the divine will, for the truth, for, I like to say, please, higher self, God, the universe, whatever you want to resonate with, I say, please help me to surrender my egoic desires and help me to be more of a servant for your divine will and for all. And what this is, it's helping me to continue that integration that the Kundalini starts. The integration of letting go of identification with thought and form and who you think you are based on your conditioning, family, society, church, school, work, profession, capitalism, consumerism. All this stuff conditions you to think you're something, right? Well, in asking something higher to come through, what I'm really doing is I'm asking for all of those limiting beliefs of who I am. And when I put myself in a box, I'm asking for those to be released so that I can expand into who I really am. And that's what the Kundalini is. That's the Kundalini destruction process. It is helping you peel back layer by layer of who you're not, so you can come into the direct experience of who you really are. And the words that you use to describe this may be different, the feelings may be different, but there is this overwhelming sense and knowing that you come to through the Kundalini destruction process, that you are somehow this infinite, immortal being who is living in this quantum energetic realm where you are creating your own reality by the energy field that you have within you, and that what you're feeling within is always going to be reflected back to you in your experience. And you start to see how you are empowered to take control of your own experience of this life and this reality. And it really helps you the Kundalini destruction process really helps you to become more of the witness of how the identifications and how the characterological lie functions in you still. And you start shining a light on, oh, that's just conditioned behavior. oh, that is just something that I learned from here, but it's not really true and it doesn't relate to who I really am. I'm just going to let that pattern dissolve. And what you start doing is you start shining a light on all these subconscious patterns and limited beliefs that have been running your experience of reality. And as you shine that awareness on them, they just start falling away one by one, one by one. And as they fall away, you start coming into the new, coming into who you really are. And then your movement just becomes one of expressing the truth from your heart authentically and openly, and just kind of like without a concern about the result, because it just is, there's no right or wrong from this place. It just is what comes through, and it's beyond conditioning and beyond, your thinking mind. And this is the destruction process that the Kundalini brings into play. It brings you to a place that is beyond the mind and beyond thought. And that's the biggest thing. And when we can go beyond our mind and beyond our thoughts, that's when we can really come into the heart center. And when we're in the heart center, that is the most transformative thing we can do to start experiencing reality in a completely new and more fulfilling and satisfying way. So I just wanted to shoot a quick video on the Kundalini destruction process. It can be very challenging. It is a long period of time for a lot of us, and it's something that you continue to integrate and deepen into. And the process really just takes care of itself as long as you're just surrendered and open to it and allowing of what needs to be let go of and open to the new coming in, and just really opening to the new with courage and trust that it is okay, it's gonna work out, and that you're not gonna be hurt by it. Because that's what the ego will tell you. The ego will say, if you let go of these old identities of who you thought you were, you're not gonna make it. This world is gonna crush you. But as you let go and as you trust more of what's coming in, you realize that that's just not true, and that the essence of who you are is completely unharmable. All right, guys, that is my take on the Kundalini destruction process. I hope this was helpful. And once again, I want to thank you for watching and sharing this connection with me through these videos. It really means a lot to me, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Namaste.